All right, welcome back to KM6LYW Radio. This is a show about amateur radio or ham radio with an emphasis on data modes, moving information back and forth, trying to reimagine radio in the information age. Hey, we've got a cool digital kind of radio here. We're going to talk about the Vero VRN7500. I know what you're thinking. There's no faceplate.
Where's the rest of you?
But hey, your faceplate you've already got in your pocket. Let's talk about the Vero VRN7500, this time on KM6LYW Radio. All right, welcome back. That's our bumper music. You know, it was just going to be a one-time thing, but now I think it's an ongoing gag. You guys keep commenting about it. You're going to keep getting the bumper music. All right, again, welcome back to KM6LYW Radio. We're going to talk about this Vero. It's not a new radio. I think it's been around for maybe 3 years now. It's new to me for sure. Initially, I avoided it because I just assumed it was kind of a gray market Chinese thing. I further assumed it probably used the Baofeng SDR receiver chip, which really lacks sensitivity and selectivity. As we do digital modes here, those are really important, particularly for packet and APRS. So this radio actually exceeded my expectations in that regard. It does pick up weak stations, unlike the Baofeng in years past. So I have one here. And obviously, like I said, the first thing you'll notice, there is no faceplate on this thing. Nothing. It's a complete digital radio. What they expect you to do is to use your phone as basically the configuration interface. Not only for programming it initially with all the channels, but also actually you can use your phone over Bluetooth to talk through your phone to the radio. This really makes it a wireless solution. So you can actually put it in the trunk of your car, hide it somewhere. You don't have to run wires through the car. They've got a cool wireless speaker mic here. You know, it just works just like a regular speaker mic, only it's Bluetooth enabled. If you want a sexier one, they've got this thing. It looks like a walkie-talkie, but it's really just a speaker mic, and it lets you change certain aspects of the radio all over this guy. The price point's really good. I think the radio itself is like 160, 170 bucks, and then each one of these accessories is optional. I think this is $60 US, and then this wireless speaker mic is about 40, and it actually comes with a wired speaker mic if you want to go that route. So that's kind of what makes this unique. It is a dual band radio. It's VHF, UHF. It's 50 watts on VHF, I think 40 or so on UHF. We're using it for VHF. The big feature for this, being consistent with this YouTube channel, is the data modes. It does APRS, and it actually does it pretty darn well. You can do all of your APRS, packet radio messaging, positioning. You can do it all over your phone. You know, if you use a traditional HT that has APRS built into it, and you want to do messaging, you got to figure out how to type on these, on this 10 keypad. By contrast with the VR, this Vero radio, you can actually do all of your typing on your cell phone if you want to do APRS messaging. So this is my phone. You click on this app called HT. This is available for Android and iOS, and this is how you operate the radio right here. This is like the home screen. The app needs work. I mean, it tries to be everything to everyone, but it works great for no one in particular. So once you learn the app, it's okay, but there is a learning curve for this. So if you have trouble, getting through the manual for a radio, by the way, the manual for this barely exists from the manufacturer. There is a user community manual, that's actually what I'm looking at right here, that the user community put together. Use this manual. It's on the Vero Google group in the download section. So definitely use this community-driven manual to operate this radio. So anyways, back to the app. This is kind of how everything works. Everything's done over Bluetooth. So the radio comes up on Bluetooth, goes into pairing mode. You pair your phone with it. You pair these individual push-to-talk devices with it. And once everything's paired, you can just start operating it. The app, what I like to do is click on map and just kind of make this my home screen. There's so many different menus. You can configure the device, configure the behavior, and it's kind of hard to navigate. So I just call this my home screen, and from here, I know I can get to all the settings I need to get to. It is a dual watch radio. It is not a dual receive. There's a big difference, especially when you're using APRS. You usually want APRS packet on one side of the radio, and then you want a voice repeater on the other. Now, dual watch radio, which is what this is, will do APRS full time, listening for packets. But then when someone's talking on the repeater, maybe you want to listen to that. But what you can't do both simultaneously. So it's kind of a good compromise. What's cool about this is it will remember what your APRS channel is. So if you're sending beacons out while listening to the repeater, it'll actually switch to the proper channel momentarily to send that packet out and then switch back to the repeater where you can listen. That is quite unlike more expensive Japanese radios like the Yaesu FTM100, for example, which will happily send your APRS beacons out on the repeater voice frequency and annoy everyone on your repeater. So this radio does have a lot of little benefits, even over the more expensive radios. In fact, I don't know if you heard that. It just sent out a beacon, and I was listening for it here. So I've got this configured to listen to APRS here and W6EK, the voice repeater here. Now, whichever one I click on is what it's going to transmit on. So if I want to talk on the repeater, I can come down here and press on the this little microphone down here. In fact, I can see there's a conversation already going on with the signal levels here. So what I might do is come up and click on these 3 bars where I can, basically this is like the faceplate for your radio. You can change channels here. So you can see down here, I've got it in dual watch. I've got APRS at the top VFO, so to speak, and our club repeater in the bottom VFO. I'm going to click on the bottom VFO and switch this over to simplex. The radio now is on 145.52, so we can actually make calls on simplex. I can actually, I want to go ahead and do that. So we can see we're on simplex. This is red, so when I click down here, it's going to transmit. You can make the transmit button sticky if you want, or you can hold it. That's kind of a cool feature as well, especially if you're in the car using Bluetooth audio, which totally works. You can actually use your car's Bluetooth audio and you don't need to hold anything. But you need a push-to-talk solution. So let me see if I can do a transmission here on simplex. This is KM6LYW listening on simplex, KM6LYW radio. All right, we just made a transmission. I think it was at, 50 watts. So we can actually go over here and look at it. Yeah, it's on high power on that channel. You can see it's in dual channel mode. We can change the low, medium, high power. I can switch over to APRS and listen to that. You notice I can mute the APRS channel, which is pretty cool. So they've really got APRS packet radio built into this. And honestly, I wouldn't buy a ham radio solution that didn't have a full-featured APRS solution. The speaker on all of the speaker mics is actually pretty good. In fact, if I can unmute, if I can move this here. You'll see our repeaters currently got a net going. That's why I'm recording this in the morning. So I can unmute that so you can hear this on my phone.
6RJS. Good morning, Randy.
Hey, that's Brian. You're on YouTube, Brian. Let's see what Randy says.
Yeah, those sticky tabs can be...
Anyways, that's the repeater we're listening to. I can mute that. So we use the phone to do like voice stuff, and we're listening to the repeater there. What I'd also like to do is look at APRS. So it's not obvious how to get into it, but there's a little messaging dialog here. I click on that, and then I get a new, I don't know, app, so to speak, with 3 sections. I can do APRS messages. This is like our log. This is just all traffic that's blowing through the APRS frequencies right now. And then I can go over to members. These are the stations that we've seen recently. There's a bunch of them, including digipeaters. And then we can go back to the map, which again was kind of like my home page. So again, we'll go back and click on the messages. What I might do is get this off a dual watch and just put it on APRS, so there's absolutely no chance that we are going to transmit packets on the APRS frequency. And I'm going to put this in the single channel mode. And then I'm going to move this over here. So now we're just an APRS radio. So let's do some APRS operations. Again, I'm going to click on the messaging here. I'm going to click on members. Now, if I want to send someone a message, let's say there's a radio. I don't know. Here's a guy. This guy's 90 miles, 100 miles away. Maybe I can find somebody close. How about I'm going to KK6Q-9. I'm going to pick you as my victim. I'm going to click on you. Now, in order to send a message to this guy, in this screen, you hold down on this. And you'll notice I get a keyboard prompt and I can send messages to this guy. And I can say, hey, are you on APRS messaging? And I apologize to you in advance, KK6Q. I don't know who you are. And I'm going to send that message. And the radio is going to send that. I think you might have just heard that. So we just sent him an APRS message directly. From here, you can change the addressee to like WXBot. And I can say... weather or something. I don't even know what you tell it. You just send WXBot a message. And I just sent WXBot a message, and it should respond with some sort of, weather for my area. If I sent a beacon recently, actually, you can see he sent me an acknowledgement. So WXBot did receive it. I did get a message that says I'm 8 miles east of Auburn, California. Today is going to be partly sunny with a high of 60. So again, the virtual radios are out there. We can message those using this radio. And again, this is all over RF. We're not using internet. So the APRS functionality is actually pretty darn cool once you learn how to use the app. So again, under messages, this is like the log. This is all traffic. Members, this is a list of stations. This is your station list. And then of course, back to the map, you can see all stations that are around you, and you can send them messages if you feel like it. I'm going to zoom out a bit. There's a bunch of stations here on the map. So this is pretty cool, actually. The APRS implementation, I'm giving it a thumbs up. Not only for usability, it's so much easier to type on your phone than it is on a radio, but there's enough sensitivity and selectivity in the radio that it actually receives pretty darn well. Now, I haven't really used this in a city environment. As you can see, I live up in the mountains here. I don't live in Sacramento. There are reports of desensing. This is an SDR type of radio. At this kind of price point, $180. You're going to have some desensing in really noisy environments. Maybe I'll follow up and just see what the sensitivity is like down in a really busy urban area with plenty of noise. All right, another killer feature I think honestly is this are these speaker mics. I don't know if I can get this in a good position where you can hear me and see what's going on. So I've got the phone muted here, so you're not going to hear that. Now these speaker mics, this one's pretty cool. Check this one out. I can make this a little bit bigger so you can see what's going on here. So you can see it actually tells me what frequency I'm on. It says APRS. Man, I hope you guys can read that. Has channel buttons on the side here. So if I wanted to hear the club repeater, I should be able to go down to channel 1. No, I need to go up. There's 16 memories, by the way. That isn't a lot. If you're used to like 100 channel memories, you're not going to get them on this radio. Let me see if I can get it up here. So here we are back on the club repeater.
And that occurred at 4:30 this morning.
The speaker's good.
5.5. And I think that might be the high for the day. Humidity.
You hear some digital artifacts there, but I think that's the source, honestly. Normally, this actually sounds pretty good. This is just as good, or if not better than, a speaker on a lot of HTs. So I do think the receive audio is good. I'm going to switch this up to simplex. Actually, I can switch it back down to the APRS frequency, which is always on channel 16. And again, remember, it knows which frequency is an APRS. You can configure that. So channel 16 is configured as my APRS frequency. What's even neater is if you're into APRS, you can see, this has a GPS built into it. You can actually see the stations as they are rolling in. This hasn't picked up any. I'm not sure who does the decoding of the stations on this. I don't know if it's the speaker mic that does it. I suspect it is, or if it's the actual radio. And in the menus, you can actually change the emphasis, the equalization. Like packet radio doesn't really want an emphasis or equalization that's suitable to the ear, right? A computer wants to hear the whole friggin' signal. It doesn't want to care what it sounds like. So you can send the signal emphasis or pre-emphasis out to the APRS decoder. Now, hopefully I'll get some stations in here. Yeah, I've already got one here. We can see we've got a station 300 kilometers away, K6IXA. He's in the list here. I can get information about him. Like this is his position report. I don't know if this is going to show up very well. But you can actually do APRS messaging on this. I wouldn't recommend it. It's brutal. But you can actually see the APRS station list here. See what stations are around it, and technically send them a message using this device. So definitely use this $60 HT looking push to talk thing versus this $40 one. This doesn't have this. One thing that this can't do is turn the radio off and on, which is totally sucks. I can turn this on, but I have to go, wherever the radio is and find it and turn it on, or use this to turn it on. Depending from a legality perspective, this is probably a more legal speaker mic. I know in California, a push-to-talk device must be used to be hands-free, and it must be wired to a radio permanently installed in the car. Yeah, this is wireless, but you can plug it into your USB adapter, which is electrically connected to the radio wherever it's installed in your car. So this is more legal to use, but you can't turn the radio off and on. The audio is fine on it. But this actually lets you turn the radio off and on. So if I click here, I can, you can see where we turn the radio off and on. A lot of menu options, signaling. You can actually set up channels on this, configure repeaters with tones, which is pretty cool. So this is so much more featured and you get, it's just not that much more. $60 on top of the $180 radio. So definitely get this to configure the radio, but to also get this if you want, or use the wired speaker mic to be a little more legal, possibly in your jurisdiction. Maybe that's just a United States thing. I don't know. So we can quickly embrace the horrors of this application. There are a lot of configuration items. So the two things to be aware of are device settings and regular settings. So device settings has more to do with the hardware itself, power, things like that. Where settings is more like logical settings. That's going to be more about APRS. So in device settings, I'm not going to go through everything in one single one of these options. Maybe there's something here that's interesting to you. I'll go into general settings from here. One thing I was interested in was auto power off. There is a thing for that, automatic shutdown. I have it turned off. This doesn't work for me, but I did measure the power on this. It's only 150 milliamps in receive mode. And of course, it'll be up to 8 amps if you're transmitting. But, with a car battery or something like that, 150 milliamps, if it is left on, it would take, 800 hours to even put a dent in your battery. So that's general settings. There's an APRS settings section. Again, this is device settings. So APRS is more of a logical thing. So you just go into regular settings, not device settings. There's an APRS settings thing here. You can set up your beacon interval. This hasn't been extremely reliable. In fact, I haven't been able to turn it off, but I can change the time on it. You can set your call sign and your APRS password. It does do igating, so it can be just an igate if you want to set up an igate on your in your area. This will do that as well. So this is pretty cool. It'll do offline maps, ID signaling. This is where some more interesting information. The menu names aren't very good. So look in every single menu to find the thing that you want. Don't necessarily go by the names. Just keep poking around. It's really easy to get lost in these menus. One thing I also wanted to mention, this will also do Morse code. This will do slow scan television using images on your phone. If we go back to the messaging thing, in fact, I don't think I mentioned this. If I click down here, I can do voice, Morse code, text, DTMF, or picture. So picture is actual slow scan television. How about that? If I want to send my position, I click on this little icon down here and I can say send. I can send my position. And it's sent. I don't know if you heard it on my radio there, but my position just went out here and was heard digipeated by a local digipeater. So APRS is totally working. So again, when I get confused on the app, and believe me, I do, I just click on the map here, and this is kind of like my home page. I can get to everything from here. So you can get to a lot of those menus from a lot of other places in the app. The app is complicated. And as far as installation goes, that's one of the coolest things about this radio is the fact that you can install it anywhere in your car. You don't have to find a place to put this in your dashboard or drill holes or run connectors and conduits. Especially if you have a car with a battery in the rear. A lot of sports cars have a battery actually in the trunk or the boot for those of you in the UK and Europe. So you can actually, this is the trunk of my car here. Get it so you can actually see it. And you'll see in the foreground, I've got the antenna on the fender right here. And then there is a battery right below that. And then on the other side of the trunk, you can actually see the radio here. I don't know if I can zoom in or not, but here's the radio just kind of wedged into the back of the trunk here. So this worked out really well. So I've got the antenna, battery, and radio all in one place. Very few wires to run, really simple. And then I can do all of my talking, of course, on the speaker mic in the cab of the car. And I can turn the radio off and on with this guy too. Put that guy right there. Let's see. You have to build a power cable for whatever it is, any radio that you're putting in. But this is all the length of power cable that I needed. This was it. So I just fabricated this cable here, put in some conduit, put in a 15 amp fuse, even though it has fuses here. And you really want the fuse to be as close to the positive terminal as possible. It's hardwired to the battery, not the ignition. This is that process here. If there's always going to be a fuse box right next to your battery, often there will be a big, huge lug you can attach your positive line to. And of course the fuse is there. And then there's a negative bolt over here, hanging out over here. So that worked out really well. And this, of course, is a close up of it, just sitting wedged in a spot that happened to be in the trunk here. So real easy install on it. And this is a Dodge Challenger. In fact, see my last video if you want to see how to install an NMO mounted antenna on a Challenger without any drilling or cutting. I think I covered all of the goodies on here. So we did it. We talked about the Vero radio, the VGN 7500. And no, it's not just a clever name. This is a cool radio. Don't use the manual that comes with it. It's just some photocopied sheets in there, largely translated, I think, from Chinese. Do get the user community-driven manual. This manual is totally cool. It's going to show you a lot more information, especially about how to get through, navigate this app, which is a bear. All right, so what's the verdict on this? I'm going to use it. I'm going to use it in the Challenger big time. I'm trying to think of three positive adjectives for this. I'm saying this is innovative, mostly because of the Bluetooth connectivity and the app that goes with it. That's real innovation in the amateur radio age. And you think about it, a lot of radios haven't changed over decades. This one's really breaking out, I think, in that regard. So we've got innovative. It's inexpensive at $180, and it's definitely techie. So if you're technically minded and you like exploring, you don't get frustrated when you have to read a manual, this is a great radio for you. Three negative adjectives for this. I'm going to say it's awkward, mostly because the app could be redesigned. All the functionality's there. So, it's awkward because, flexibility and ease of use are two things that tend to vary inversely, right? You usually can't have something that's super flexible and also easy to use. So it's definitely more on the flexibility end of that spectrum versus the ease of use end of that spectrum. Another negative adjective, I guess, would be this is kind of fragile. Some of the things don't always work the first time, like in pairing can be an issue. There was one point where this just stopped receiving audio and I kind of forgot about it. There's a nit, and all of a sudden it came back on again. One morning I came out and the green light was on the radio in the car, even though it had been turned off. It wasn't drawing any current, but it's just kind of, why is the green light on? That's a little disconcerting. So it's kind of it's not a working project. Maybe it is kind of a working project. We do expect improvements. Evidently, this app has improved considerably over the last 3 years. So I'm impressed. For me, it's a keeper. For the price point, the ease of wiring, the ease of not having to have a tangled up speaker mic, the fact that I can do Bluetooth over the car is pretty cool. I can just talk without holding a speaker mic up to my mouth. As long as I can push to talk, that's pretty cool. This app does not work with Android Auto. If you're thinking you can just run this app on your center console, if you're using Android Auto, it's not enabled for that. I tried and failed, but otherwise it works just fine. All right, that's the Vero radio. Thanks for hanging out with me and watching this. I really appreciate it. This is a cool radio. Let me know if you get one. I haven't hooked it up to the DigiPi just yet. I don't think I need to, honestly, because it has such a good APRS implementation right now, including slow scan television and more. All right, and all of this is possible because of the patrons. Thank you guys. I really appreciate it. You guys are killing it here. Unbelievable. We have hundreds of patrons now. If you are a patron of the channel, not only are you helping get together these cool videos and helping me fund this stuff and helping me take the XYL out to dinner now and then to help justify all of this time I put in on this channel and messing with this stuff. Not only do you get that, but go to digipi.org and you get access to the Digipi SD card image, which is a amateur radio data transceiver / hotspot. So every data mode you can think of is built into this Digipi card. You plug it into a Raspberry Pi, plug that into your radio, and you've got every mode you can think of, including not only packet APRS stuff, but JS8 call, WSJTX, every data mode you can think of using the Digipi project SD card image. And that goes to patrons of the channel, and that's you guys. Thank you very much. Fu, Steve, NW2, Ryan, BS, Jake, Christopher, Ian, Tony. Thank you guys. I really appreciate it. This is becoming one of the longest segments. I wish I could read all of your names. Ghost Man, Troy, Mark, Don, Tim, David, Rico, or Recco, John Armstrong. Thank you very much. VT Jeep Outdoors. I have to explain the name to me. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. SB Fox, awesome. George, Dusty Rhodes, awesome. Andrew Prepper, Jason, Frozen Nerd. Got a weird name. I'm going to read it. Thank you, Frozen Nerd. I'm guessing you're from the Great White North. Rob, Matthew, Carl, Thomas, Alex, Vanko, Giuseppe. Thank you very much, sir. Really appreciate it. Greg, Dan, Viorel, Asteria. Am I getting that right? Thank you, sir. Daniel, Wayne. Appreciate it, guys, all the way down to Robin and Chris. All right, this has been another KM6 LYW radio production. Let me know if you get one of these cool Vero radios. Let me know what you think of it. I don't have a lot of stick time on it, but I think it's going to be a lot of fun in the future. Maybe I'll post an update. So, hey, this is KM6 LYW. Craig in California, and I'm clear.